Hi guys, welcome to the podcast. Today I have a good friend. This guy I've been wanting to collaborate with him for a very long time, right? When I first met him, it was through Mr. A, right? It was through
Yeah, Mr.
Mr.
Ed.
A. Yeah, Mr. A. In college, in PE college, right? And I got to learn more about his business and and that was something that also motivated me because I got to learn more about where he actually came from and what he was doing and where he was actually heading to. And I know where he's heading to, and it's just it's a journey that I still even right now enjoy seeing, right. So right now, guys, I have Banele Moyi, right. It's Banele Moyi, right. Your
Yeah,
surname, yeah. So, Banele Moyi, welcome to the podcast. Um,
thanks for having me, man.
yeah, no
Thanks for
problem. And it was something that I really wanted to do, but I just didn't have the time to actually be able to go through with it. But yeah, Banele, if you don't mind me asking, man, could you please tell us more about who Banele is, right? Your background.
yeah. Okay, so thanks for having me, man. It's an honor, complete honor to be on your podcast.
Yeah,
And I also hope that at least by the end of this discussion,
yeah,
I would have at least made a difference to at least one person's life who would be maybe listening to this podcast. All
exactly.
right, so my name, as you said, is Banele Moyi.
Yeah,
I grew up in Motherwell, in a middle class family. And most people don't know this, but my story actually starts in primary school when I was dyslexic. So
okay,
I used to be very severely dyslexic, but now I am still dyslexic, although now I have mild symptoms of dyslexia. So for those who don't know what dyslexia is, dyslexia is actually a condition where a person struggles to read and struggles to write, or can't write and can't read at all. So completely, you can't read and you can't write. So that's what dyslexia is. It's the inability to do those simple things.
okay,
So for me, it basically meant that from grade 1 up until grade 8, I could not read and I could not write. So I couldn't read and I couldn't write at all, you know. Not like at least some people can't read a little bit, but they can at the same time. And
okay.
they also can write certain words, but at least for the most part, they can
Okay.
completely like do any of those things. So I did not know what writing is and what reading is. So I struggled to read and write from grade 1 up until grade 8, when I started learning a little bit how to do those things. When I started teaching myself, and sitting with the book every day and trying to basically figure out um, basically trying to figure out how can I read and how can I write, because I became very frustrated, to a point whereby I actually ended up doing certain things, that I should not have been doing because I was dyslexic,
Okay.
And as I, towards my grade 8, when I was about to go into high school, so obviously I still couldn't read, so I started asking myself important questions, like, if I can't read and I can't write, then how am I basically going to live my life? How am I going to be able to one day help my kids do their homework? How am I going to be able to contribute to society, and how am I going to be able to work and start businesses and all of that if I
Yeah.
cannot do things, you know.
Okay.
One day maybe I would be required to sign a contract, whatever. But how am I going to do that if I can't read and I can't write, you know? So I started asking myself those sorts of important questions, you know, and
Mm.
that became a very concerning thing to me, you know, although some people around me, you know, didn't know that I was asking myself those kinds of questions. So that now ended up in me doing bad things, you know, because I did not find myself fitting in, you know, at school. I did not find myself fitting in, you know, with the nerds, you know, with the
Yeah.
top 10, top five students in class or the grade at that time, you know. So I did not fit anywhere at school except with the bad guys, you know, the kids who would be doing bad things and wrong things. That's where I found belonging, you know, as
Okay.
a dyslexic boy who at that time was not even diagnosed. So my parents didn't know what was wrong with me. My friends didn't know. My teachers also didn't know. You know, still to this day, a lot of people still don't know what dyslexia is. We actually tend to laugh at people who are dyslexic, not knowing exactly what is wrong with
Yeah.
them, and then we call them names, you know, and say, this person is dumb because they can't read and they can't write, not knowing that that person was born with
Yeah.
dyslexia. So it has nothing to do with your intelligence. So I'll make you an example. After I realized that I was dyslexic, I started to realize that this thing was actually, you know, I was not alone. In fact, a lot of famous people are dyslexic, you know. Richard Branson is also dyslexic.
Okay.
I think Oprah Winfrey is also dyslexic. I think Picasso was also dyslexic. So I can name a lot of people who are dyslexic, you know.
Okay.
But having dyslexia doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to read and write, you know, for a long time. But some people who are severely dyslexic, you know, they go through their life not being able to read and write, you know.
Yeah.
So they go to adulthood, you know, in their 40s, 50s, and they still can't write, you know. But fortunately for me, I started um, having mild symptoms of dyslexia when I was in grade 8. So, which means I started I started learning to read and write, you know, in
Okay.
grade 8 and 9. So when I got out of high school, I was actually now in the top 10 best performing students in my class,
Mm.
you know. So from from dyslexia, not being able to read and write my whole primary school years
Yeah.
to when I got to my grade 12, you know, being a top 10 student. So that for me was like, you know, a completely new thing for a dyslexic kid, you know, because
Okay.
I I I still remember that even when I started learning to read and write, you know, around um grade 8 and grade 9, you know, it was still a new thing for me. And I was becoming very excited about because for me, you know, it felt like a superpower being able to read and write, you know, whereas
Yeah.
for other kids, it was a normal thing, you know,
Yeah.
but me, someone who was literally praying, you know, and was literally crying and asking God, you know, to be able to help me in this situation, you know,
Yeah.
because people were laughing at me and they didn't know, you know, and I was also asking God at some point, like, what did I deserve, you know, to have this punishment where I'm literally the only kid in class who can't read and write, you know. So it was a huge thing for me. You can imagine when I got to grade
Yeah.
9 and I could now I was now able to read, you know, a few words like can, get, how, why,
Yeah.
whatnot, you know, up until now where I'm actually even better than people who started reading and writing, you know, in primary school.
Yeah.
So from there, um, yeah, so obviously I passed my grade 12 and then I had to now choose um, um, tertiary education. I had to now go to tertiary education. So I went to PE college. So I went to PE college and I studied marketing management there. And I think that's how me and you met.
Yeah.
So from there, I started marketing management, and then what happened is, somehow, some way, I was not funded by NSFAS, so I did not get funding from NSFAS somehow, and it was around, I think, February, yeah, of that year when I realized that other kids were other students in my class were getting their NSFAS money, and mine
Yeah.
was not in my account. So when I went to the bursary office, they gave me a lot of stories as to why I was not funded. So at that point again, now I had two options. I either had to sorry, I had three options actually.
Okay.
I either had to pay the money um on my own, or I could drop out, or I could get a job and then fund my education.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, I did not have, my parents did not have the money to pay out of their pockets because my dad got retrenched at work in 2018, was actually the sole breadwinner at home,
Okay.
so yeah, we did not have much money. As I said, it was a middle class family. And also, I did not want the option of dropping out, you know.
Yeah.
So I chose the third option, which was to basically get a job so that I can continue my education and fund it. So I went to Mag and Bean in Green Acres and submitted my CV, and immediately they took me and I worked there as a barrister in 2020. Yeah, I think it was 2020. Yeah, I worked there as a barrister. So I unfortunately now I had to work at Mug and Bean full time, and then I had to, study part time, so
Yeah.
that I can also I can do both things at the same time. So I was working during the day, and then around 4 p.m. I would go to class, attend classes up until 6 o'clock, and
Okay.
then go home. So that's how I basically funded my education until COVID came. When now, as you know, most restaurants were put on, short time, and
Yeah.
some restaurants had to operate at 50% capacity. So, unfortunately, again, I came across another challenge where now all of us as staff again were also put on short time, which means that now we were not going to work um 6 out of 7 days, like we would normally do, but we were going to work like um 2 out of 6 days or 1 out of 6
Okay.
days. So now that now impacted my ability to fund now my education again, because you must remember that I got the job so that I can pay for my school fees, I can pay for my transport, and I can also pay for my books. So now it impacted me being able to do those things again. So now I had to find another solution as to what I was going to do. So during that time, I had also, while I was working at Bargain Bean, I'd also learned how to make coffee, cappuccino,
Yeah.
lattes, and all of that, the sort of artisanal coffee that most people would drink when they go to a Mug and Bean or to any type of basically cafe. So I had learned how to do those things, and
Yeah.
I had started buying myself equipment, because I wanted to start my own thing after leaving Mug and Bean, because I loved my job as a barista. So fortunately, I already had that equipment, but now it was time to use it.
Yeah.
So I decided that I would take all of my equipment that I had already bought, and then during that short time, on the days that I was not working at Mug and Bean, I would basically go to Summer Strand, and then sell coffee there, because that for me is the spot and the place that made the most sense,
Yeah.
during the morning, because I know that there's a lot of people there who like buying coffee.
Yeah.
So I went there this one day. I went there with my equipment, and I stood there, and it was a very scary thing at first because, first of all, you don't know the response that you're going to get, You don't know if people are going to just laugh at you,
Yeah.
and people are going to support you, You don't know what's going to be the response, basically.
Yeah.
But the thought process then for me became, look, um, just go there and then you'll see what's going to happen. Because at the end of the day, even if I do go there, two things are either going to happen. It's either people are going to support me or people are not going to support me at all. I won't
Yeah.
die at the end of the day. So I was like, no, let me rather go, instead of not going there and having the regret that
Yeah.
should I have gone, what would have happened.
Yeah.
So I ended up going, with all my coffee equipment, and I stood there. I had a nice setup actually that I put there. So I went there and I stood there for the first day. It was very scary. So while I was standing there, another lady approached me. White lady, called Michelle Brown. She's still my friend up until
No.
now. So she approached me, and um, I didn't know at that time, but she was a very well-known lady here in
Yeah.
PE. She's actually in PR. So she does a lot
Okay.
of PR work, for big companies here in Nelson Mandela Bay and across, South Africa. So
Yeah.
she approached me, and told me that she likes what I'm doing, and she bought a few coffees and she also took
Mm.
some pictures of me. And then she later on that day, she uploaded the picture on her Facebook, she posted it there. And I basically told people that, they need to support me. There's this young man who's doing this and that, you know.
On your
So
first
that,
day.
yeah, on my first day. So that post got a lot of interest from people, it got a lot of interest. I think it had about 100 comments or so,
Mm.
of people saying, tomorrow I'm gonna see him there, I'm gonna support him, we're gonna go and buy, So I was excited. So I was excited the following day because there was a lot of
Yeah.
comments there on that. A lot of people, and a lot of people shared the post as well. But what I didn't know is that the post also attracted news publications
Yeah.
houses like Herald, IOL, ETV, News 24, in all these places, and also Algoa FM, Algoa News,
Mm.
Algoa Live, all these news publication houses. So the following day I went there. When I got there, there was like a line of 10 to 15 people waiting to buy coffee. I
So
I I hadn't even like set up my equipment yet, but there was already a line of people
alive.
just waiting to buy the coffee. Seeing that post from the day before, from
Okay.
Michelle. So that day, I actually sold out all of my coffee that day. I literally, I used to leave there so I used to be there at from 7 a.m.
Yeah.
up to 12, because that's the time where people buy the most coffee during the morning, So I usually leave at 12. But that day, I got there at 7 a.m. By 10 a.m., I had already sold out all of my coffee. And when I
So
when when I say sold out, I'm actually talking about 25 cups that I
okay.
actually sold today, and each cup was about, I think, 25 rand. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually sold all of my coffee that day. And then I came again the following day, same thing happened. There was like a
Yeah.
line of 20 people, and one person each would maybe buy 4 to 5 coffees, and they would buy for their friends, people passing by, you know. So I was making a lot of money. At Magan Bean, I
Yeah.
was making about 1,000 rand a week.
Okay.
There, I was making like 700, 800 to 900 rand a
A
day
day.
compared to what I was making at Magan Bean a
Yeah.
week, 7 rand a week at Magan Bean.
So there
Yeah,
was a
so
change.
yeah, so I was started thinking, why do I need to go back to work when here with this coffee I'm earning 800 rand a day when at work I'm earning 1,000 rand a week.
A
It doesn't
week.
make sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So, so during that week, there was like a lot of hype and a lot of activity. I got interviews from Herald, Algoa FM, radio stations. So there
Mm.
was a lot of hype. I got contacted from people from Cape Town,
Yeah.
people from Dubai, wanted my bank accounts and they wanted to send me money
Mm.
to my account, saying that they like what I'm doing and all of that. People from other provinces send me messages
Yeah.
on Facebook saying they read my story on their local publications, saying that they
Okay.
like what I'm doing, I must keep going. So there was a lot of that, but unfortunately, I think about 3 weeks later, yeah, the ban was lifted on restaurants, so now restaurants could
Mm.
operate at their full capacity again. So now again, I had to go back to work, and leave now what I was doing there.
Yeah.
So I went back to work, and I started working normally. I went to school again and then paid my school fees, and then I paid for my transportation and my books and all
Yeah.
of that. So I left. Okay, so Margin Bean closed down in 2021. Yeah, in September 2021. Yeah, so Margin Bean closed down, because of the effects of COVID,
Okay.
Uh, so they were in financial difficulties, so they had to close down and everyone who was working there was retrenched, So now I had to, look at another way of making money. So it happened that when I was working at Mug and Bean, I bought myself, a small scooter because I wanted to save on the costs, that I had, to pay for
Transport.
public like buses and all of
Yeah.
that. So I bought myself a small scooter, so that I can save on the transportation, not knowing that that scooter would come in handy when Mug and Bean closed down. So Mug and Bean closed down, So now I had this scooter that was sitting at the back of my house, and then I was thinking like, how do I make money with this thing?
Yeah.
How do you monetize the scooter? You know? So I went to Google and I searched how do you make money with your scooter, And
Okay.
one of the recommendations that came up is basically do deliveries with the scooter, food
Yeah.
delivery in your area. And then I looked around in my area and then I realized that there was actually a huge need for food deliveries,
Okay.
because there were no food deliveries at that time, So I actually started a small food delivery business called Easy Deliveries,
Yeah.
and using that one scooter, and then on the first day, I got like one order that first day,
Okay.
and then I kept advertising. The orders grew more and more and more and more and more, up
Yeah.
until now I had to hire other guys, to help me with deliveries because I could no longer do deliveries alone.
Yeah.
So at like one point, I had about 8 scooters and 8 guys all doing deliveries at the same time,
Okay.
up until I pivoted with that business. And then I realized that that model was not going to work anymore, of using my own scooters and hiring my own guys. So if I wanted to compete with Mr. D Food and Uber Eats, I had to use the same model that they were using, which is the contractor model, the independent
Yeah.
contractor model that they use now. So
Okay.
basically, using other people's cars and not mine, and using other people's bikes and not mine,
Not
you
yours.
know. Yeah. So that's what I did. I pivoted the business. So I sold all of my scooters and then I basically used other people's cars, you know.
Okay.
So I marketed the business as like something that was would enable people to have an extra income, you know. If you were
Yeah.
working maybe during the week, but you were off at work during the weekend and you had a car, so you could basically sign up with easy deliveries, you know, and start doing deliveries during the weekends when your car is not doing anything. So
Yeah.
that's what I did. So I pivoted the business. Started doing it that way. You know, it worked. The orders keep growing. You know, the business also kept growing as well. So I went to a few competitions and won some competitions from that business as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it basically grew from there, you know, and then up
And
until, you know, we came across a few challenges, you know, that we came across, and I had to shut the business down, you know. But after shutting the business down, you know, I had to again look at, you know, other ways to keep going, you know, because
yeah.
I don't want to sit in one place, you know, and do nothing because I would always remember words that you know, my boss at Mug and Bean would tell me, you know, and say to me, my boss at Mug and Bean was actually another lady called Mrs. Naika. So the franchise was owned by her and her husband.
Okay.
So I consider Mrs. Naika a very, you know, one of the people that I look up to. You know, I also consider her to be a mentor to me, you know, because there's a lot of things that she taught me and a lot of things that, you know, I learned from her as
From
well.
her.
You know? So one of the things that I learned, you know, from Mrs. Naika is that, you know, at one point, she said to me, you know, you always have to fail forward. You know, you always
Yeah.
pay forward. Don't stop, you know. When when you come across challenges, no matter how big or small, you know, don't stop and complain, you know, about how you don't have any resources, you know,
Yeah.
about how you know, don't basically don't complain about the misfortunes, you know, look for
Mm.
ways in which you can take yourself out of that situations, you know, look for ways in which you can try moving forward regardless of the challenges, you know.
Yeah.
So again, I had to now, you know, fail forward, you know, so to say. So I failed forward, you know, and then I pivoted into being a real estate agent, you know. So even now I still do a lot of things on the side, you
Yeah.
know, and that because of time, you know, I don't think I should mention them because of time, you know. But I pivoted to being a real estate agent, you know, that I still am now, you
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
So being a real estate agent, it's been a really nice and enriching journey, you know. I really would never have thought, you know, that from selling coffee basically in a stand in Summerstrand, you know,
Yeah.
basically now become a real estate agent, you know, and work in one of the most biggest industries in the
Yeah.
world,
In the world.
learn things about property that I didn't know, and learn the different laws and bylaws that govern property, and learn how the basically the insider information of the industry, how it works, you know, the different roles played by the different stakeholders in the
Okay.
industry, from the bond originators, you know, to the banks themselves, you know, to the clients, to the conveyancers, to the attorneys, you know, to the deeds office, you know.
Mm.
So yeah, that's basically my story, and that's basically, you know, where I am right now, you know, with my life. You know, I'm still a real estate agent, and I'm still pushing, you know, a lot of things on the side that I obviously don't want to, you know, mention because of time. some projects I'm still also busy with, you
Okay.
know. So yeah, man, that's where I am right now.
Okay. Hey man, that's good to actually hear your story, and you the way you actually um spoke about it, and you didn't really get to a point where you were like you're gonna be hiding this part and this part. You actually shared everything, and which and your story, as I did mention to you that your story, it's actually inspiring, because even with me, as you know, I run an agency, right? And there are certain things that come, right, and that I would need to face, and at some point, when I get to hear stories like yours, right, you know those stories, they actually, even if I'm at a point where I'm like, ish, things are not going good,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, when I hear about, when I think about those kinds of stories, I'm like, hey, if then I could also do that, because it's something that is possible, right?
100%.
Yeah, it's
100%.
it's something that is possible. And I think you mentioned also that your mentor, right, told you that you need to fail forward, right, in everything that you do.
Exactly.
You need to fail forward, because also at the very same time, as much as you as much as you let's say, as much as you would think that you're failing in something, but you don't know what would happen tomorrow if you were to quit that thing, so it's important to keep on going forward, so from your story, yeah, from your story, that is something that even myself, when I'm at a point where I'm like, hey, I keep on thinking about stories like yours, right? And those stories,
Yeah,
they inspire you as a person, but now,
100%.
yeah, but now, just to get to you did mention that you were covered by a few, um you know yeah, so I wanted you to actually um tell us more about those publications that actually covered your story and stuff like that. You didn't really get to a point where you explained that part, so I would really
Mm.
love to know more about that.
Yeah, so um, some of the publications um, that wrote, on that story were, I think Algoa, yeah, it's Algoa Live, yeah, on Facebook. It's Algoa Live, not Algoa News.
Okay.
So the Algoa has, also Algoa is a media company. So
Mm,
they have this division of Algoa Radio, which most people know if you're from here
yeah,
in the Bay. And
yeah.
then they also have Algoa Live, which is for, like news. And then they have the radio division. So,
Oh, okay.
um, so yeah, so it's Algoa News. So it's sorry, it's Algoa Live
It's
on
a go
Facebook.
live.
So and then it was also Herald, and then
Mm,
it was IOL, IOL News in
mm,
Cape Town.
yeah.
And then it was Opera News. And then it was also, I forgot this Islamic radio that I also spoke on during that time. I forgot the name of the radio station,
Okay.
but it was also ETV. ETV actually played the story. It was actually aired there on ETV.
Mm.
Also ETV. I forgot the others, man. I forgot the others, but
But
if someone is interested, they can basically go and search on Google and say Banele Moyi, and then they'll
again,
they'll
you,
find all of the
yeah,
publications wrote on the story there, yeah, on Google.
yeah. So you that guy basically. Yeah, you that guy. They should just go to Google. They will find you there.
Yeah, bro, if they're interested, if anyone is interested in reading the full story,
Yeah,
um, go there and read about the full story, and they will get the story there, on Google. That's actually the nice thing about Google is that
yeah.
when you do things and when you do good things, they always stay there, and they also remind you as a person, who has been doing all of these things, and as a person who's been, hustling and working hard, you know, those things always, are basically archived, on the
Yeah.
internet to remind you of where you're coming from, and that no matter how difficult things get, at least you are far way better off now, than what you basically started as,
Okay.
So that's a
Mm.
nice thing about Google and the internet,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And thank you for mentioning that about Google and the internet archiving your and I would really like to get to that, you know. Um what are your thoughts on social media basically and creating content and stuff like that? What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, so for me, I'm actually not a person who likes social media. I'm not the content and type of a person, but
Mm,
for me, I'm that kind of a person that, if I have to do something in order for me to get to where I want to get, then it stops being a matter of um, liking it or not liking it, but I
mm,
have to do it because this thing is going to get me to where I want to go,
yeah,
So now in the line of work that I do, as a real estate agent, I always have to be on social media
yeah,
and I always have to be active, on social media. So it's one of those things for me where, I have to do it in order for me to get clients, and for easy deliveries as well. I had to always, post things on my page, to engage customers,
yeah,
also for brand awareness, So I think social media is a very um, underrated tool, for a lot of small businesses, you know, um, and I'm not talking about, like normal people who actually use social media, because I
mm,
would like to believe that I am a seller,
okay,
and I'm not a consumer, Vusite Mekwai says, there's two people in the world, you know, there's sellers, and so I'm not a consumer. I'm always, a seller. So I'm always transacting, So I'm mainly talking about the perspective now of other sellers, which, I would imagine that it's mostly people who watch this podcast, people who
yeah,
want to become sellers and people who are sellers, people who are
okay,
always producing things, people who are always, trying to hustle and trying to make money, you know,
yeah,
those are the sellers, So I think that social media is a very underrated tool for us, in a sense that, for example, in my current job as a real estate agent, I have to always be looking for clients who want to buy and sell their houses,
yeah,
So I could simply um, go on social media. In fact, I simply go on social media and then I post on a Facebook group somewhere, I advertise my services, and then I get a client who says, look, I am in Blue Water Bay, and I want to
mm,
sell my house, and that's how I get clients. And then I have to go to that client's house and view the house up until the house is sold, So
okay,
imagine the house is like the selling price of the house, maybe let's say 1.5 million. And
mm,
then from that 1.5 million, I'll get like a commission of around maybe 60 to 70,000 rand, all from, just posting on a group, on Facebook, you know. So I did not have to, pay, for a single cent for me to get that client compared to if, Facebook was not around, and I had to do the same form of advertisement. I would have to go, the traditional route of having to
yeah,
advertise. I would have to go, to billboards and to radios and pay money there, where now there's actually this tool where you can advertise for free and get money for free,
Yeah.
So although there's also now Facebook paid ads, which
Yeah.
you can also use, depending on what works for you basically in the
Yeah.
digital, marketing space, you know. So yeah, man, that's basically my thoughts around advertising and the internet and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great way of actually putting it, because I think also I think I did also say this to you once,
Mm,
when yeah when you were starting with your career in the real estate space.
mm,
Yeah, I think yeah we did speak about this, um, which is that. Thank you for actually bringing it up and explaining it the way that you did, because that is something that most people don't actually realize. With with
mm.
social media and the internet. First of all, it's not just about making sure that you are out there, and but at the end of the day, it's also something that you can leave for the people that will be for the next generation, basically, right? Some people don't look at it that way, but I do, right? For
Yeah, that's
instance,
true.
y-
That's true. Yeah.
yeah, because now what happens is this. um you will, of course, we will all pass away, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, and there will be generations and generations that will be coming after us, right? Now those generations, they will need to know what kind of a person was their grandfather. And and when you are creating content on social media, posting and doing all of that, right? That is what your grandchildren will be seeing of their grandfather, right? And
Correct.
sometimes, yeah, and sometimes I actually tell that to there's this client of mine. She was my client in PE, right? I will be having her on the podcast also. I was actually telling her this, that with social media, what happens is this: um, if you post bad things on social media, right? Then those bad things are things that your children, first of all, will see, right? Your grandchildren will see those things. Your great grandchildren will be seeing those things. So it's for me, I would rather post things that I know that when my grandchildren, my children and stuff like that, when they see them, they will be like, this is, yeah. uh, So that's how I actually look at it. And then second of all, with social media, um, you did mention this, that if there wasn't social media, we would have to put money into traditional marketing, right? Whereby we would have to put money into billboards, money into posters and all of that, right? Now with social media, one post could literally change the whole trajectory of your business, right? With just one post, and that post going viral, your business could act, yeah, your there's a lot that could happen with just that one post, right? Now, imagine if you are posting that for free, right? You don't have to pay any money and stuff like that, and there's a possibility that you might grow from that. People might see, you might have audience from that, So it's something that is amazing, right? But at
The,
the
the,
oh no,
yeah. Sorry to disturb you.
yeah, no problem.
Um, so the other day, I was doing a presentation, at work, and I was basically telling my colleagues, the other real estate agents, that um, I was making them an example and saying, look, the nice thing about social media is that it has made marketing like a level playing field. You know,
Mm,
you can now play in the same playing ground that the big boys, with big budgets play on. You
yeah,
know, and saying that um, because now acquiring customers has become a game of, who has the deepest pockets, you know. So in today's marketplace, the person who has the deepest pockets acquires the customer.
Mm.
right? Because now the game is all about money, you know. If now you're watching, oh, what's going on with Temu. You know, Temu is spending a lot of money, you know, spending a
Yeah.
lot of money, you know, and that some competitors are not able to spend, you know.
Yeah.
And Temu is now actually taking customers away from Take a Lot, taking customers away from Shane and all of that, all
Yeah.
because they have a big budget, you know. So
Yeah.
I was saying to them the other day that if um, if Facebook and social media was not around, you would not be able to compete with Temu. But now,
Yeah.
because we have Facebook, you can actually sell directly to the customers that Temu advertises to, you
Mm.
know, because the filtering system is the same. If you know how Temu is filtering, you know, their ads, you can actually do the same and advertise to the same customers. And sometimes even free of charge if you know how to use, Facebook and how to, you know, target your customers and which
Yeah.
groups to, you know, and look at how active each group is, you know, you can actually advertise to the same people because all those people are now on one platform, you know.
Okay.
So I was actually saying to them that look, it's a very level playing field now, you know, and looking basically, you know, bringing that example now to our industry, which is real estate. You know, I
Yeah.
was saying Remax is a big franchise, a really big franchise. So they have a big budget, you know,
Yeah.
and I was then we can actually advertise directly to the same customers that Remax advertises to, because we are using the same platform that Remax is also using. It just becomes now a question around strategy. How do you um, what strategy, you know, do you use to acquire your customers, you know, and what strategy do you use, you know, to make yourself known, you know, on social
Mm.
media and all of that. And above all of that, social media is also like, you know, a community, you know, it's a
Yeah.
community of people. So if if you want to be known for something in your community, then you have to position yourself, right?
Yeah.
So, for instance, in your community, like in the physical, you know, places that we stay in, you know, we know that next door maybe there's a police officer who stays
Yeah.
there, and then we also know that you know, maybe 5 houses away from where we stay, there's a doctor there and there's a nurse there, you know. So all those people are playing their different roles within the community. So on social media, you can actually do the same, you know, and be
Yeah.
known for what you're specializing in because it's also a community. So the people that you have maybe on your friend on your friend list, you know, on social media, those
Yeah.
people can have the exact same effect, you know, as your neighbor who is a policeman, in to such a way that, you know, when something happens in your community, right? The first people that you consult when
Yeah.
something happens are the people who work in those roles in their daily lives, you know. So if
Yeah.
the criminal act in your community, who are you going to? You're going to the
The
policeman
police.
next door.
Yeah.
If someone is sick, you know, and they need medication or you need medication advice, you're going to the nurse, right?
Yeah. Or the doctors and
So
stuff like that.
yeah, exactly. So if you position yourself well on Facebook or any social media platform, you will be known for being, you know, the real estate agent, you know,
Yeah.
so that when people want to buy or sell houses, you have the exact same effect that the policemen and the nurses have. People are going to
Yeah.
come to you, you know, for that assistance, you know. And the nice part about social media is that people have people that, you know, don't necessarily are not necessarily on your friends, you know, on social
Okay.
media, but that those people are friends with, you know, offline. So
Yeah.
now they can actually even take the conversation offline and say, look, if you want to sell your house or you want to buy a house, I know a friend on my Facebook who is actually
Who's
an
doing
estate
this?
agent. He has
Yeah,
their number. So that's a nice part.
yeah, many. And you know, you just have a way of putting, um, you have a way of saying your words to a point where they are what it's supposed to actually be. I don't know if you understand me. Yeah,
I understand. I get
yeah,
it a lot, Actually, a lot of people say, you know, because most of the time, as an estate agent, I always have to be explaining, things to people.
yeah,
So I like to use, the easiest ways to explain to people, and people always, compliment me on how easily I explain, things
yeah,
that are complex, even to old people who don't understand these things. But I can actually
yeah,
say, use, local examples that they know to make them understand. So a lot of people like to compliment me on that as well.
yeah. And to a point where it's like, you know, most of the time when someone explains something to you, you can be like, okay, could you please try and explain what you meant by this and this and that? But now I'm at a point where I'm like, ah, you know, so yeah, you just have that way of explaining to a point where it fully, but and also thank you for explaining it the way that you did. And
Mm.
also just to get back to you mentioned Temu, right? These guys, I was actually, now that you spoke about that, I was also shocked by seeing what these guys are doing. you know the way that they are actually moving. It's just amazing, because these guys, first of all, their ad budget, it's too much, first of all,
It's
right?
huge.
It's too
It's
much.
huge. Deep pockets.
And and
Deep
then second
pockets.
of and then second of all, these guys, with what you call this, with Sheen and these other, and in these, yeah, what happens is that um they normally take about 10, 15 days and all of that. But now with these guys, they take about um 3 to even 5 day shipping, you know which is amazing, because when that happens, one thing that is going to happen is this: people, when they see that, first of all, there's lower prices here, the shipping, it's fast. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
100%.
yeah, now these guys, they actually have everything that they need. First of all, first, their shipping is fast. Like Amazon, for instance, their shipping is fast. Their ad budget, it's huge, right? Because
Mm.
uh, I also work in the ad agency space, so I know when the ad budget, it's huge, man. You just it you know There's a lot that you're going to be doing with that. And if even the loss, you won't have a loss with that ad budget that is huge, man, because there's a lot of split testing that will happen there, right? Which is something that is amazing. When I saw, there was a video that I was watching on YouTube, and it's a documentary. I don't know if you do watch those kinds of documentaries where they talk about those kinds of stuff.
Mm.
Yeah. So I was watching that, and I saw what these guys are doing, and I was like, hey, because it's really amazing, man, what these guys are doing. And also, just to get back to something that you were also saying, when you're explaining the part, where you need to position yourself in a way whereby, um if a person is looking for this, they know where to find you. And you were actually talking about even the real estate side. uh I think I did mention this also to you, that
Mm.
when you should, yeah, you should create a YouTube channel, right? Yeah, I did. Create a
Mm.
YouTube channel, and then on that YouTube channel, you start crafting content whereby you answer questions that people are asking, right?
Mm.
Because people, they do search, right? People search on Google, people search on YouTube, those kinds of things. Now, when you create content that answers the question that they are searching for, you are able to make sure that you are well positioned on social media. And that is something that most people don't don't get. Even I didn't get it, right? Even though I was in the marketing space, but that was something that I didn't really understand, until I got to understand that how personal branding works. So that is also something that that makes sure that you can be effective in positioning yourself. You know, so on that specific part, have you been posting that kind of content, or at the moment are you which what kind of strategies do you actually use in terms of your content?
Okay, yeah. So when it came to strategy,
Mm,
for me now the question was,
mm,
um, what kind of strategy do I use?
yeah,
Because as a real estate agent, you don't have um, organic content. You don't always have organic content. So when I'm talking about organic content, I'm talking about, your listings, because
mm,
that's the major attraction for your target audience, right? Because
yeah,
those are people who are looking to buy or sell their houses, right? So when I'm talking about organic content now, I'm talking about houses that people are looking to buy, because
yeah,
that's the primary thing that you're going to be posting on your social media because you want people to buy, right? But now you have a limited source of those houses. Say, for instance, one real estate agency can have about maybe 25 listings,
yeah,
right? So that's a very limited number of listings because even if, let's say, you're going to post one house a day for a month,
yeah,
that's not even going to finish, 30 days because it's only
yeah,
25 houses. So now the question becomes, if you don't have more houses to post, then what do you do in the meantime to keep your audience engaged so
mm,
that they don't forget about you, you know?
yeah,
Because the more you don't post, the more people forget about you, the less relevant you are, right?
yeah,
So, going back to the example that I made, about being known in your local community where you stay, as a policeman or as a nurse, right?
mm,
So if you no longer a nurse or you no longer a policeman, obviously people are going to stop consulting you with regards to those things, right? Because
yeah,
now you're no longer a policeman. So people are going to go to the relevant people that they see going to
yeah,
work, working those things. So it has now the same effects that it has the same effects also on your digital community, in a sense
yeah,
that when you don't post, people stop thinking about you and people stop consulting you,
mm,
as a real estate agent or as a policeman, because they no longer see you doing that anymore. So now the question for me became, okay, so if I'm going to post content every day, then what kind of content am I going to be posting? So obviously, the first thing that comes to mind is videos, like
yeah,
most people do, you post videos, taking your audience through, house tours and all of that,
yeah,
videos on TikTok. So for me, the strategy that I found, that was both suitable for me,
mm,
and the local audience, in PE, and general, the people that were also looking to buy and sell,
mm,
was I found that, I could actually you know, write
yeah,
blogs about local cells, and no one was doing that at the time. So I started writing blogs about Fairview, I started writing blogs about, Summer Strand,
mm.
comparing prices in those areas. And I think the other blog I actually showed you
Well,
the other
yeah,
day. I
I was
actually
about to
showed
say that I remember your blog post.
I showed you the numbers on that blog. I
Yeah,
think
and and
less
and
than
and before I cut you off, man, you are just one lucky guy. That I have to say, you know, that I have to say, because
it
because
was less Yeah, yeah, you can talk.
Yeah, because when the first, I think it was 24 hours later, right? When,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I was like, yeah. Oh, and then,
So,
you know,
20, so, so 24 hours. No, it wasn't actually 24 hours yet. It was about to be 24 hours. I think it was like 20 hours,
mm,
when I posted, that piece of content. And already there was like 500 people who viewed that blog, you know. So there was like 500 people who viewed that blog post,
mm,
And obviously, it was now starting to have that effect, of
yeah,
being known, in my Facebook community as a person who is into real estate and as a person who people could consult,
yeah,
in the industry. And I actually started getting, messages from other real estate agencies wanting me to go and work for them, because of that content,
yeah.
saying, look, I we saw your blog and we absolutely loved what you are doing and we are impressed, can we have a coffee? We want to speak to you,
I
So
remember, yeah. I remember when you said that there was
yeah,
someone that wanted to have a coffee with you.
yeah.
Were
So it
they
was
trying to
actually
poach you?
yeah. So it was
Oh,
actually more than one person, But
mm,
then what I realized was that a lot of people here in PE, don't actually like to. In fact, I wanted to make it as I wanted to make it as convenient as possible to read for people to read my content.
mm,
So that's where now I started posting, the blogs directly on Facebook and not, on the blog post that I used to use. So I pivoted from now posting all of the content to the blog,
mm,
to now posting all of the content on my Facebook page, so that I can get engagement there,
yeah,
rather than on the blog itself, because when you get an engagement on the blog, the people who are viewing your profile on Facebook don't see that engagement, and
mm,
they start to think that now there is nothing happening in terms of your engagement and all of that, you know. So I sort of wanted to take the conversation now on Facebook, I wanted to engage
mm,
my audience there on Facebook, So I started posting the content on Facebook, So now I started moving away from writing about the suburbs. I
mm,
started now writing about, local business stories, that I found interesting and that people didn't know. Yeah,
yeah,
I started posting, about, how, for instance, the Radisson Blue Hotel came
yeah,
to PE, and also on that specific piece of content, I got a lot of engagement on that specific piece of content, and I also got access to an audience that I never knew that I could get access to.
yeah,
So now we're starting to get access to business executives, CEOs,
mm,
business directors, because they were interested in these stories that I was writing about. I started to write now about the top, most successful entrepreneurs, in the Eastern Cape, and I also got a lot of interest, on that piece of content, you know.
mm,
So from using that strategy, I gained a lot of momentum. I gained a lot of momentum, but I have to say that it takes a lot of time because you have to research. You have to, do a proper research before posting each piece of content. Because you can be sued, number one, by people
yeah,
for posting wrong, information about them or posting inaccurate information about them. So for me, I would always like steer away from posting negative things, although
yeah,
there are some negative things about local business people here in PE, but I would just choose not to write about those things and then instead
mm,
like look to write about the more positive things because I knew that if I, steer away from writing negative things about people, then at least I would stay away from getting sued, and getting into
Mm,
trouble, and also, getting into conflicts with people that I don't know, and
mm,
people that, I don't know what kind of things that they do. But at least I knew that if I post something positive about a person, they won't really have a reason to sue you or anything because
yeah,
everyone wants,
yeah,
to be known for positive things. So basically that's what I did, that's what I still do now. I continuing with posting my real estate content. So I would also, go around looking for real estate developments around the city, and then I would take pictures, and then I would go
mm,
inside the development and I would be shown around and I would take pictures. They would ask, questions like, how many people are going to get employed after this project is completed?
okay,
Who is funding this project? Who is financing this project? You know, and then I would note all of those things down and then get home and then
mm,
write an article about that development, And then I found that, a lot of people liked, that type of content and shared that type of content.
yeah,
So that was basically my strategy. And a lot of people actually on Facebook started to tell me that, look, you need to also write this content on Twitter. A lot of people on Twitter would like this kind of content. So
yeah,
but I also really enjoyed that type of content, because there's a lot of, I think, insider information that I know that a lot of people don't
oh
know.
no,
So I always like to share those kinds of things. For instance, the Radisson Blue story, a lot of people see, the Radisson Blue Hotel, but they
yeah,
don't necessarily know what, how it came to Radisson Blue, how it came to Summerstrand. A lot
okay,
of people see the buildings, here
in PE,
in PE, when you go to town, for instance, there's a lot of buildings there. But a
yeah,
lot of people don't know the stories behind those buildings. Who owns those buildings? What does that person do for a living? How
yeah,
much is the valuation of all those buildings? So I basically go into the details, around who owns the buildings, how much do they buy the buildings for, where do they buy the buildings, So I
yeah,
would post, things like that that are interesting, but at the same time also thought provoking,
yeah,
the types of things that, would make people excited to tell their colleagues about what they read,
mm,
the following day after they've read the story, you know. So yeah, that's basically my strategy and how I promote myself on social media.
yeah. And that's a very smart strategy that you actually got, because I've been seeing your content also. I remember you was, oh, you did send it to me, and I also see it on your on your Facebook page, right? But now my question is this: have I'm asking you, I think for the second time, have you thought of moving your content to YouTube?
I won't lie. The reason why I have not yet been, in fact, I have been active on Facebook, but not as intense as I am on
Yes.
Facebook. In fact, the type of content that I was posting on YouTube was not necessarily the stories, but house show houses.
Mm,
Taking people through inside house tours. When we do house tours, inside houses, and that's the type of content that I was posting on YouTube. But I think I only posted about 2 or 3 videos on
mm,
YouTube. So I'm not that active on YouTube, but it's definitely something that I know that sooner or later I have to do. In fact,
yeah,
the sooner I do it, then the better.
yeah.
So that's where I stand with YouTube.
Oh, because I think, yeah, I think I've been also asking you this. I've been saying that you need to get yourself on YouTube. You need to get yourself on YouTube, you know. But I didn't know that you had a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I do have it. It's like I think it has like 3 videos there already. I
Mm,
think the one um the one YouTube short video that I posted there, I think I got like 5,000 something views there.
mm,
Yeah, so but to be honest, I've never liked videos, you know. So that for me is, the thing that, I think makes me slack when
mm.
it comes to YouTube. But I know that, again, it's not necessarily about me liking or not liking
Yeah.
something. I have to do it at the end of the day because we are competing in a marketplace, So when
Mm,
you're competing with other people, you have to do what your competitors are doing, if you're not going to do it better than them, So yeah.
yeah. Because I also did mention to you that in South Africa, um, especially in the real estate side, what most people focus on, it is the house tours, right? It is yeah, it's the house tours more than anything. If you were to also go on YouTube, I think I've mentioned that that if you go there, you will see that there is oh, and also I see that the hour has passed. You don't mind if we continue?
Yeah,
Or
no, it's fine. It's fine.
okay, okay, no problem. So yeah, if you go to YouTube and check for real estate people in South Africa, what you'll see is they post normally content that is related to house tours and stuff like that. But as much as that is effective and that brings in the views, right? But what makes people first of all loyal to you and build a brand around your you know um it's when you provide value to people. And how do you provide value to people? Let's say someone is trying to find out what goes on when you are creating or when you are trying to sell your house, right? And now you answer those kinds of questions, right? I did mention this to you, right?
No, no, no. I don't think we've ever spoken about that one.
Or ah, now I think I'll be sharing it now. Yeah. So with that, when you answer those kinds of questions, because if you can go to Google Trends, right? You can just search for Google Trends on, yeah, and then search for things. Let's say you search for real estate, right? And you will see there what people, or you search for real estate, just type real estate, and then you will see what people are searching in terms of real estate. And then for houses or stuff like that, just type in whatever industry that you are in, just to see what people are actually looking for, right? And when you do that and then you answer those questions that people are searching for, what happens in return? People, they you provide them with value, right? And when you provide people with value, they they see the need for them to assist you in some type of way, right? And of which that's how you build a brand behind yourself. And from what I've seen, because the real estate side, it was an industry that I wanted to get into in terms of the marketing side, right? Yeah, but I just didn't. I just got into the home improvement side, right? But what I learned from that is that most people or most real estate companies, they don't focus on that specific side, you know. And also I was
Right.
going to,
100%. Yeah.
yeah, they don't focus on that because in their minds, right? Don't get me wrong, you also in the real estate side. So
Mm.
yeah, so what they normally focus on, right? It's the house tours, showing people the properties, right? And now when you show people the properties and stuff like that, what you're trying to accomplish with that, it's you are selling people a dream basically, right? And
Mm,
when you're selling people a dream, those people when they see that property, they're going to be at a point where, hey, I want that house, right? And with that kind of content, as much as people that watch it might buy from that video, right? But the whole point of doing a house tour, right, it is to showcase the property first of all, right? So that if someone is looking for the house, they can be able to see it. And you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, right? And then the
mm,
second, yeah, and then the second part of creating a house tour, it is to sell a dream to even the people that don't even have the money, right? But when those
mm,
people see the property, right, they they
mm,
they they get interested in that, and what you also get from that, you get views, you get likes, you get subscribers, because people see the properties that you post, right?
mm.
Yeah. Now I don't know if maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just saying that from the way that I've noticed it, right? But now if you were to then get to the side where you're providing the value, right? When you provide, like for instance, you did mention that you were creating content on the Radisson Blue Hotel and stuff like that, and people were you were getting good responses from that, and people were asking you to create more content, right?
Mm,
Yeah, because you were providing value to them because they didn't know anything about the property, as you've mentioned. They don't know anything
mm,
about that property. But when you give them value, now they know that they know the story behind the red SLP, because I even didn't know the you know, and there was this place that you made a content around. It's when you see Yabona, when you're going to,
Kwandu Towers.
sorry.
Is it Kwandu Towers?
Yeah, Kwantu Towers. I used
Yeah.
to pause there, you know, when I was going, when I was heading to the, what you call these places, the res, right? I used to go to those reses a lot, you know, for, yeah, it's one of those things, you know. So I used,
I never knew the story around the building.
yeah, I didn't know the story on the building, but I used to see this building a lot, and I didn't even know what was happening there, because I normally see a lot of securities that work around there, but I don't know what's happening with it. And you
Mm,
gave me value there, right? And
mm,
of which now you got me as a loyal follower, right? Because now I know a lot of, I know what that place is about and all of that, and the story behind it, you know.
mm,
So you provided value, and in return, I am a loyal subscriber, loyal follower. When you even sell me, when you monetize, right,
mm.
it will be easy for you, for me to buy from you, because I've been,
Yeah.
yeah, you've been providing value to me a lot. And when I need
Mm,
to convert that into money, into
mm.
monetizing it, it will be easier for people to buy into it,
Yeah, exactly.
you know. So that is one thing that I've noticed, you know. And
Mm.
you said that we didn't really get to talk about it, but now I'm actually mentioning it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So so that is something that I noticed in terms of the real estate side. Most people,
Mm.
they don't provide value. They just
Yeah,
showcase,
that's true.
you
That's
know.
true.
Yeah. And that is something that I hope, actually it's something that you have been doing, you know.
Mm.
You've been doing it, and you've been doing it very well. But I'm just hoping now you will get to a point where you will be doing that on YouTube, you know.
Yeah, and you actually giving me an idea now um to basically take those stories, and then create them in a video form.
Exactly.
Basically, take for instance the Radisson Blue Hotel story.
Mm,
You know, take the same story, turn it into maybe a 3 or 4 minutes video,
video.
about how it became, how it
Yeah.
came about and how it came.
Yeah.
So you basically give me an idea that,
You
and
know,
that's actually the nice thing about content. It's
you know,
actually a very fascinating thing that you can actually take one piece of content
mm,
and split it up into so many different forms, for so many different platforms.
yeah.
You can take the same piece of content and then split it up into a different form for Instagram, use
Mm,
the same thing, split it into a different form for TikTok, use the same thing, different form for YouTube.
yeah.
Because I wrote another story about another guy called Anda Makanda. So I also wrote a story about him.
Mm,
So he was actually um, um, a budding entrepreneur, one of the budding entrepreneurs from here, in PE, and he had head offices, for his engineering company, that had a lot of divisions, and he was
mm,
hiring people, you know, and then he was killed, in a tragic incident in Christmas, I forgot the year,
mm.
but he got involved in a fight, and then he was basically stabbed, and they killed him. So I
Okay.
wrote a story about that, and it also had a lot of engagements on Facebook, you
Mm,
know. And then I decided that um, I would basically take that same story and
mm.
then basically screenshot the story on Facebook and then
Oh.
take the screenshots, you know, edit
Mm,
them and then put them on TikTok, as like pictures and then put
mm.
an emotional song, around because it was an emotional story.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, and a lot of people, engaged with that content, they
Yeah.
commented, and it actually also I also got a lot of views from
Mm,
that video as well. So it's actually like digital real estate, because
mm.
I produced that piece of content in like I think it was last year around October, but
Okay.
I'm still getting engagement even now to this
From that
point
one video.
when I've stopped producing that piece of content a long
Mm,
time ago, but I'm still getting, value from it, even though I created it a long time ago. So it's actually like digital real estate, it creates
yeah.
value even if you're no longer creating the content anymore. And then it actually becomes, compound. It actually compounds itself when you create more and more and more and more and more. Because imagine if, let's say, I created the same pieces of content for like each month, the whole of last year,
Yeah.
I would be getting now value from a piece of content from January 2023. I'm getting that piece of content now in April 2024, So
Mm,
it's like real estate basically, on the internet.
exactly, man.
Just create it and leave it there, and
Yeah.
then it creates more value over time.
Yeah.
It creates more value for you as a person. But what I found is that the same effect, actually happens when you stop producing, because when you stop producing, people stop engaging, you know. So yeah, that's what I found, and it's a very interesting thing about content, content creation.
Yeah.
And what I've actually found is that it's actually science that because I used to think like, hey, it's very difficult to get people to engage your content. But now, since I've started doing it, I've found that it's actually a science, You basically
Mm,
it's basically supply and demand. You look at what is in demand and then you supply it.
yeah. You
Like the
supply it.
example that I made, I realized that, content that is emotional is in demand on TikTok. And then I
Yeah.
took a bit of content, and then I chopped and changed it so that it can be suitable for TikTok. And then I posted it on TikTok. And then, I got a lot of engagements from
Yeah.
it and I got a lot of value from it. So yeah, it's actually very interesting. It's a very
Mm.
interesting thing, but yeah.
And that's the best part about having content, that's really the best part about it, because as much as when we were talking, I said that when you're creating content, you are leaving behind and something that the next generation can look at, and you also said that you having an archive of. So with all of that being said, that goes to show that creating content, it's especially if you're creating content that is giving away value, it's something that will not only change the lives of the people that watch that content, but also your life, because
That's true.
yeah. So I think when you should create that content, and how you
Mm.
and how you structure it, you can structure it this way, right? I don't know if your thoughts around podcasts and stuff like that, but what I did was this, with SP Media Empire, right? The company. I created a YouTube channel, right? I created a podcast. I created pages, right? Now, the whole structure, how it actually works, is this: the YouTube channel, right? Finals. When I create content on the YouTube channel, right? The content that is created on the YouTube channel, I then turn it into a podcast, right? Taking the audio, right, and then taking that audio, I create an episode on the podcast, right, and then the content that I'm supposed to do also written content, but at this point, that is something that I cannot handle at this point. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, but now what I then do with the content on YouTube, I chop it up, right, and I make videos of a specific, if maybe let's say I was making a specific point, I take those content, I post them on my social media pages, right, and that way I get more views, right, and more people, they watch it, and I provide value to other people. So that is a way that you would need to you could structure it, and especially the value that you are creating with your pages, right, with your content, if you were to structure it that way, I'm promising you, it would make a lot of difference. Maybe it wouldn't in let's say in a week or in a month, but if you
Correct.
would,
Yeah.
yeah, but if you were to keep on being consistent with it, I'm sure you would see the difference in that, right? But it's something,
100%.
yeah, but it's something that you need to try out, man. You know,
Mm.
it's something that you need to try out.
No, I will definitely be trying it out. I will be definitely be trying it out because one thing I've also realized is that um when your content now starts being something to talk about when people go to work and say, have you seen,
Yeah,
that article about, this and that, then you know that, you are doing something right, because
yeah,
people are starting to market the content for you,
yeah,
and there was actually another lady, and the nice thing is that you can actually even start monetizing the content itself, you know. There was also another lady, I forgot the lady's name now, but she basically owns a law firm,
okay,
right? So she was also one of the target audience that I started tapping to now, when I started writing this piece of content, because she's
mm,
a business person and she's interested in business, stories,
okay,
and she approached me. She said, it would actually be nice if you would create like, um, 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 you know, a magazine sort of thing, or
mm,
you know, something that you could basically put all of these, or book, something that you could put all of these stories into, and then package them, like and put maybe, a catchy heading, like
Mm.
um, um, maybe 50 most interesting stories about businesses in Nelson Mandela Bay, something
Yeah.
catchy like that, and that's what she said to me. And I was like, okay, maybe this is also a good idea,
I have an idea
because,
for you, but
because,
you can continue.
um, because, you know, um, while it's also a niche target
Mm.
market that I'm
Yeah.
targeting, but it's also a high paying one
Yeah.
because guaranteed these people are in business, they have money.
Yeah.
So it's
Exactly.
not saying that I'm gonna sell this whatever book or magazine for like 150 rand, they definitely gonna
Mm.
buy
They're gonna buy
because
it.
they know the value of this thing as compared to creating, content and targeting it to people who, when I have to sell something, they say, I don't have money,
It's too much.
There's,
Yeah.
yeah, there's actually people like that, who create content for a target audience that doesn't have money,
Mm.
and when they start selling things, the same people that, were watching and commenting, they don't buy, because they don't have money.
Exactly.
What's the
Exactly.
point? Because you're not
Exactly.
making money out of that content anyway. You're just
I
maybe a comedian on the internet, but you're not really monetizing because your
Yeah.
target audience doesn't have the money as
Uh,
compared to um, um, having a niche market
mm.
of, let's say, 1,000 or 500 people. But when you sell to those people, they go all out, and say,
Yeah.
where's your banking details? I want to buy, you know. That's way more than having, a target audience of 5,000 people that don't buy anything from you,
Mm.
rather than having 1,000 people that whenever you sell something, you sell out because they have the ability to buy.
Yeah. To
you
purchase
know.
it.
So that
Yeah.
for me became a different story now when people started wanting me to even sell the content itself, because
Mm.
that's the kind of value that it carried. So yeah, man.
Yeah. And also, I said that I have an idea for you, right? So yeah. Now,
Me, bro, give me the idea.
yeah.
I love
Now,
ideas.
she
I love ideas.
she's responsible for this idea, but she doesn't even know, right? Um, there's this. I don't know if you noticed on my story, right, or my status. I did post that I am creating a free course, right? And this course that I'm creating it for business owners, right? I don't know if you did see that.
Mm.
Did you see it, right?
Yeah, yeah, I saw it.
Yeah. Now, with that, there's something uh, that is bigger than you think, right? And it's way huge, you know. And yeah, now just to get to it, right? It of course it wouldn't be the course, right? But what you could do you know do you have any knowledge about the newsletter business?
Oh yeah, newsletter. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you have knowledge about it?
Yeah, I do have. Yeah, I do know. You basically, collect emails from
Mm,
people, and then depending on the model of your newsletter, you basically charge the people, a subscription fee every
yeah.
month for the newsletters that you're going to be sending to them, or
Mm,
it can also be free, depending on you. Yeah, so yeah,
yeah.
that's
Yeah. So yeah. So now, um, look at it this way, right? As I've mentioned to you, there is a free course that I'm creating, right? And now the SB Media brand, right, on its own, that's where the content that I create will be funneling out to that free course, right? And on that free course, there's a free community there for business owners. There is a course, of course, a school there, right? Now,
Mhm.
what you could do, create the content that you are creating, right? Now, with the content that you are creating, you funnel those people through to the newsletter, right? Now, on that
Mhm.
newsletter, let's say you charge them about 150, even if you could charge them about 500 or even 1,000, because I'm also looking into creating a newsletter, but I would rather create a newsletter with the relevant people. Let's say if I were to get let's say a copywriting team, blog, then I would definitely go into it because I don't have the time. But I'm just sharing the idea, right? You you funnel them, right? Let's say you create the content, you create the YouTube channel, you all of that the content, right? And what happens is there's a link that you'll be leaving, and during your content you mention that you have a newsletter, right? And in this newsletter, this and this is inside that newsletter, right? And when they join that newsletter, they will have access to other business owners, right? And now what you will be selling, first of all, it is the content, right, that will be in that newsletter. Like for instance, how can you monetize the newsletter? You may charge them, let's say you charge them 500 or 1,000 or even more than that. It just depends on you, basically, right? And now you can create content inside that newsletter, right? And when you're creating content, also what you do is this: you take referral, what you call this, the affiliate marketing, right? You do affiliate marketing inside the newsletter, right? You suggest to them, let's say, if a month you're creating about four for content, right, inside the newsletter, in what every in all those for content, one out of four, right? That's where you will be suggesting, what you call this, let's say a specific software, a specific product, that kind of a thing, right? To a point where when they go and purchase that specific thing, you also get a commission from that. So if you were to do it that way, because the idea that she came up with, the lawyer, right, it's good, but that is what it needs, right? If you were to create a newsletter whereby business owners could have access to each other, right? And and the content also that is inside it, right? Because you're giving them a community, first of all, and it may be, let's say, the elite of because I think you know a few people inside the business chamber in PE, right?
Yeah, I know quite a few people there.
Exactly exactly. Now you could utilize those people. Just tell them that this is what you are doing, right? Let's say for them, you could say that for a month, right, you will be creating that they will be joining for free for a month, right? Or let's say you say for 14 days they will be joining, they will be inside the course, I mean, I'm saying the course now, the what you call this, the newsletter, right? And then they will see how everything is going, right? The responses and stuff like that, right? Now, when they are inside the newsletter, right, you can also tell them that there will be other business owners that will be joining this, right? Now, when you have these people that are in the business chamber, because remember, the business chamber, as it consists of business owners, right? And these business owners, when other business owners hear that there are these kinds of people inside this, they will of course want to join it, because they know they and one thing about business owners is, especially the ones that can afford something, they understand the value of
They
being
understand. Yeah,
yeah, the value of being around a community that does that is at that specific place that they need to get to, or the mindset that they need, you know so they wouldn't mind paying that money if it meant that that money would get them closer to this specific person. That is actually something
definitely.
that oh, you were gonna say?
No, I'm saying definitely.
Yeah, because if even the charities, I don't know if you noticed that, with charities, that is actually something that happens. Let's say this specific person donates this specific amount into a specific charity. That person knows that inside that organization, this person also donates to it. So I'm getting a seat. I'm getting to a seat with this specific person. So this 50,000 rand, it's smaller than to So
Mm.
that is something that you could do. I don't know if your thoughts around it, but it's just a suggestion that I'm thinking of also.
Yeah, correct. No, I 100% agree.
Mm,
I 100% agree. I 100% agree, but with these things, you have to be very proactive. In fact, that's what I learned, because there's a lot of things, going on, and I think the perfect way you have to put it is it's a chaos, basically,
yeah,
You basically have to be now, because already on this podcast, there's a lot of things that we mentioned, YouTube,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um, the written content,
yeah,
the news article, and also selling
mm,
houses at the same time. So it's basically a chaos, you have to be
yeah,
proactive,
exactly,
in
exactly.
trying to be doing all of these things at the same time.
Mm,
And you cannot also make the excuse that you do not have time.
time to this,
You
yeah,
you cannot make the excuse that you don't have time. You just not maybe you're just not organized, not necessarily that you don't have time, but you're just not really organized, because really, you will find that, like we discussed, maybe there's a lot of money that I'm leaving on the table, with some of the things that I'm not currently doing that I can be doing, but like I said, all of these things need a lot of time, because I think just writing one piece of content alone, I need to do about 4 to 5 hours of research.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that that's one thing on its own. And then for YouTube, I'm also gonna need to edit the video, which I can also
mm,
do. But I need to do the editing and also create the thumbnail for YouTube, you know.
mm.
So it's a
It,
lot
it's
of
just a
work,
lot.
but it's doable. It's doable.
Yeah,
Yeah, doable. Yeah. If you just,
excuse me.
put your mind into it, then you can do it, because I
Yeah, you can
mean,
accomplish it.
there's people like Elon Musk who alone runs 7 companies at the same time.
Exactly.
Who are we? Who are we? Who are we?
Exactly, man.
Who are
Exactly.
we? No.
Yeah, exactly. But as I've mentioned to you, also on my side, it's something. Those kinds of things are things that I would need to do, and I would need to get people that would help me with them, right? Because due to the time, right, and as you've said right now, it's not that the time is not there. The time is there, right?
Mm.
But at the very same time, the moment you were to you are to add a lot of things into one thing, right? There's a lot of chaos that is gonna happen there, right? So
Mm.
I fully understand what you are saying by that, but it's something that is doable at the end of the day, right?
Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely, it's
yeah,
doable. It's
yeah,
doable. I mean, at the end of the day, in the marketplace, you have to do what you have to do, to stay competitive.
yeah,
If it means that you have to, be writing this piece of content, if you have to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, wake
yeah,
up at 4 a.m. if you have to, cut down on your sleep, in order for you to squeeze now this extra time in. If you're sleeping 8 hours, then sleep 6 hours, because if you want to be relevant in the marketplace, that's what you have to do,
yeah.
unless you don't want to play the game anymore, then you can just give it up to your competitors. But
Because
that's what the market requires now. It requires you to bend your back and hurt your back,
mm,
but it's the name of the game, it's the
yeah,
name of the game. And at the end of the day, it's all a game, basically, that we basically, as sellers, love to play. We love to
yeah,
play the game of transacting, testing different things, getting
and seeing what
engagement. So that's the thing. I've never been a person who likes content, but I became fascinated now with, how you can basically, create value out of nothing, out of thin air, you know. So that's what fascinated me, like taking stuff that was basically on the internet, just lying around. No one was, cared about that.
Mm,
Taking that, doing proper research, putting that into one thing and then creating value out of it, out of thin
yeah,
air. All of a sudden, it's working for you.
yeah,
So that's basically, if that's what it takes to compete in the modern day marketplace, then so be it.
that's what
So
you
be
need
it.
to do, man.
So be it.
Yeah, because it's as you've mentioned it, it's it is the way that you've said right now. If you aren't willing to be different from your competition, right? Then
Mm.
you might just um you might just kiss goodbye to whatever that you are doing, because if you're doing the same thing that your competition is doing, then you will be at that very same place that your competition is in, and you might be even um they might be even at the top and you might just remain at the bottom. You need to
Correct.
differentiate yourself from your competition.
Mm.
Just to make an example of that, when I got into the industry, right? Uh, what most companies were doing, right? Even right now, they're still doing that. In terms of the ad side, they run the ads for the companies, right? And then when they get the leads, they give them to the companies, right? Now that is what they used to do, right? What did I do, right? That differentiated myself from my competition was that I learned that when you do that, first of all, your clients, right? Those guys aren't good with sales, right? You need to
Mm.
understand that. And second of all, these guys, they might not be able to close the people that you bring to them, right? And when that happens, these guys will complain. The job, they won't be happy. They won't be happy with it, right? So
Mm.
what if I took, that was one thing that I had in my mind. What if I just took all of the systems and put them in house? We close them for our lead for our clients. We close those leads ourselves. We just give them the jobs. They are happy at the end of the day because the money that they put in, it's bringing in a return on investment. So it's just a matter of knowing, of looking at the marketplace, see from what your competition is doing, what they are doing, is it providing value, and in which way. And if it's not, try to find a way that would make sure that you provide the value as much as possible and you are able to be differentiated from your competition.
100%. Yeah. I
Yeah, man.
agree.
Yeah. But I'm looking at the time, brother, and it's almost 2 hours. So I think we will just have to try and shorten it up a bit. So um, at this specific point, Banele, where do you actually see yourself going?
Yeah. So right now, I think for me the goal has always been, the same, but it's just, the 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 way to get to the goal that's been changing. Like I told you how I, was doing coffee, to selling coffee in Summer Strand, to all of these different things. It's basically just me trying to get where, I wanted to go, by taking different routes. Even now I'm busy with other projects that maybe you're also gonna see on WhatsApp, you
Mm,
know. It's, so for me, the ultimate where I basically see myself is, first of all, I've always been a person who's um wanted to uplift, local communities, by
Mm,
creating value. I think one thing that has been um, constant for me, or one thing that has been common in my story is that I've always been a person who creates value, you know.
yeah,
I've always been a person who create things that um, people want to use, and um, um, services that people want to also use.
yeah,
So I guess then that has showed me, that basically this is my purpose in life, because
yeah.
that's actually a very easy thing for me to do, to create value. I can actually look at something and then, I can actually look at a problem and then start seeing ways in which I can basically solve that problem.
Mm,
So all of that is basically my journey going to the end goal, the end dream of being this person who can uplift my communities, with
okay.
my skills, but also in a way that is also going to be benefiting me at the end of the day,
Yeah,
in, a way that I can also be financially free. I can, be my own boss,
yeah,
do things that I want to do at my own time,
mm,
and not have, someone telling me that I need to do this and I need to do that, you know. So for me, that's basically what I've always wanted to do, to have
mm,
financial freedom, and for me, that's the end goal,
okay.
If it means that I have to make 50 million rand a year, then
Mm,
that's what it is,
yeah,
and that's where I have to go. That's where I'm heading, because that's what it means.
yeah,
So for me, the ultimate goal is to have financial freedom. And how do
mm,
you have financial freedom? You have to create value. What
okay.
happens when you create value? People give you money.
Yeah,
So a lot of people have also been giving me money, along the years,
mm,
and that also affirmed, that I'm basically a value creator, and that
yeah,
this even in tough times, I would remember, with easy deliveries, I will tell you a story. There was actually a family member,
okay.
right? Not a family member. Okay, I guess a family member in a way, but
So,
she was she was my ex-girlfriend's mom,
mm,
right? She was
okay.
my ex-girlfriend's mom. So she knew that I was running this business, yeah?
Mm,
And then she believed in me, and she believed in the business. I did not do anything that made her believe in what I was doing. I did not sell her anything,
no,
but just saw the way in which I was operating this business. I had
yeah,
apps, to do the admin work for the business.
okay.
The way that I was speaking about it, she saw that I was speaking about something that I knew and something that I was passionate about.
Passionate about.
So at one point she said, look, Banele, I want to invest in this business, and I said,
Mm,
no, 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 I like, I'm not
yeah.
gonna take the money, because I did not want any,
Any
um,
handouts?
yeah, I did not want any transactions between me and her, because I know that you can have a good relationship with someone, but immediately when you start engaging in transactions, and then
Mm,
it will basically ruin the relationship because
yeah.
you. So she actually insisted that, Banele, I want to invest in you. Like,
Mm,
I'm not going to take no for an answer.
seeing
And
your passion for it.
yeah, so she gave me 10,000 Rand just to invest in the business. She sent
Mm,
10,000 Rand into my account and she invested into the business. And, I bought even more scooters with the money that she gave me. And I
mm,
also won competitions through the business that you know of. You
yeah.
know, and there's a lot of other people that also gave me money, So
Yeah.
for me, if there is one thing that is for sure, it's that I have the ability to create value.
Yeah.
I have the ability to create, something where there was nothing, basically, and I have the ability to make people believe in that value and believe in that vision,
Yeah.
So even in tough times, that's what basically keeps me going, to think that, a person would just want to give you 10,000 Rand out of the
Out
blue,
of the blue.
and so many other people, I remember during the Allen Gray competition that we had,
Mm.
when I pitched my business there, So during the competition, they had um, like a fake 1 million rand that they would give to everyone who attended the event. So
Okay.
at the event, there was like 1,000 people who were seated attending the
Mm.
event. So everyone had like a fake 1 million
A
rand,
million.
in their account. So what the judges said is that, so everyone with their 1 million rand, they needed to basically invest that fake 1 million rand into a person
Oh.
that they believed in, you
Mm.
know. So so obviously as we're pitching, people are looking at people that they're gonna invest their 1 million rands in, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people actually came to me, and told me that, hey, you better win this competition because my 1 million rand is on you, bro.
Mm.
And there was like
Yeah.
18 of us finalists.
Okay.
So for people to come to me and tell me that, you look, if this 1 million rand was real, I would actually give it to you because I believe so much in what you are doing and the value that you have
Mm.
created, you know. So for me, those are the kinds of things that, reaffirm, that this is where I need to be. I don't need to be
Yeah.
anywhere else. Even when it gets tough, I'm like, no, you stay here, because
Where you
this is
need
where
to
you
be.
belong. Look back, look at the time where you were in Summerstrand,
Yeah.
selling coffee in your in your in your stand, look at what happened there. You ended up, being on news publications, you ended up touching the lives of people who were far, Cape Town,
Yeah.
Joburg, people just sending me money, So even there, I created value out of nothing,
Yeah.
up to where I am now, still creating value out of
Out
nothing,
of nothing.
because of time, I would be telling you some of the projects that I'm doing now. I
How?
think last week I was at Atul. Atul, like this. It's this company that basically owns tuk-tuks. Tuk-tuks.
Tuk tuks.
Yeah. No, man, it's those three-wheeled things that they use in India to travel.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, those scooters that they use in India.
Um.
Yeah. So they have a branch here in PE now. They have a
Okay.
branch here in PE now. So the directors of that company heard that I was running, a food
Is
delivery
it
business.
deliveries?
I actually had my own apps,
Okay.
my own websites and all of that, So they are running this business, and they don't have their own, apps like Uber for people to request.
Oh, okay.
So people are buying these tuk-tuks from them, and the people that are buying these tuk-tuks are using these tuk-tuks to so that people can travel with them,
Okay.
people can book rides, but they don't actually have apps, so it's very difficult to request for someone
Mm.
to have a ride in one of them. You need to pick up your phone and call them and all of that, and
Okay.
that comes with a lot of challenges. Imagine if every time you had to request an Uber, you have to call, a call center
Mm.
to request. So that's very difficult for the customer.
Okay.
So they found out and they called me, they wanted me to have a meeting with them,
Mm.
and see how we can basically work together and all of that.
Yeah.
So again, that's me basically creating value out of
Out of
thin air.
nothing. Yeah.
yeah, creating value there was where there was nothing, to a point where directors of such a
Such
big company,
companies. Yeah.
yeah, are calling me to have a meeting with them, and advise them and tell them, about my story and how I did it and
Yeah.
how I can basically work with them. So yeah, man.
That's good to hear, man. That's good to hear. The only project that I saw was I think you own a company that is into IT solutions.
Yeah, yeah, Code Plus. Yeah, that's also another one.
Yeah, yeah.
That's also
That
another one. Yeah,
that,
that's
that
also another one.
yeah,
Code
that's
Plus, Code Plus is basically a, a software development company that I started with my other friend,
mm,
Kenoli, who is a software developer. you know. So we decided to start a software developing company because we realized that, a lot of small businesses could not afford to have, to create a traditional website, because it's
yeah.
very expensive. Outside of what you would get from Wix, or Shopify, because you have to pay those, on a monthly
Mm,
basis, you know. And a lot of small businesses cannot afford to, pay 300 Rand, 400 Rand on a monthly basis for those kinds of
mm,
websites. So we decided that we would start this company where we basically charge small businesses like 950 Rand for just like a basic website
okay.
um, that you would basically own for a lifetime. You wouldn't have to
Mm,
pay 350 Rand or 200 Rand or whatever. You're just going to pay for the hosting fee for your domain name, which is
mm,
like 50 Rand a month, you
okay.
know. So again, that is one of the projects, that I was
That you're working
I'm
on.
still busy with. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, and then there is I'm looking at the time, but yeah, let me just say this. And then there's the other one. There was this one that I saw. It's for it's for the driving school, right?
Oh, we drive.
Yeah.
We
Is that
drive.
an yeah, is that another one of your projects?
Yeah, yeah, that was one of my projects, but
Mm,
I basically pulled the plug on that one,
no,
because
okay.
I realized that there was a flaw, in that project, but it was
Mm,
basically a marketplace that was connecting um, people who were looking for driving schools, that was basically
mm,
connecting them to driving schools, because a lot of times when people are looking for driving schools, they do not have, one central place where they can
mm,
go to and basically compare the different prices and services, before
yeah,
choosing a driving school. So people, have cheaper options, but they don't know that they have cheaper options, because a driving school is basically something that you just, you get referred to by your friend or your
yeah,
family member, but there's no database of a list of the many driving schools in your area. So you actually don't know, that you are paying for an expensive choice or a cheaper choice, So I was
yeah.
basically trying to make it easier for people to choose, the
The
best
driving
driving
school.
school. Yeah, depending on the price, the service that they give and the
Mm,
reviews from the.
okay.
So I was basically trying to create that, but I basically pulled the plug on that one.
Oh, okay. But it was a very smart idea that you had on that specific side, because um most people actually have that problem, it's a problem that many people have, and the solution, it was just something else, but
Mm.
yeah, but it's just so sad to actually hear that you closed that business down, but it that also goes to show that in not in everything that you do, not everything you will actually succeed in it, right? There are
Yes,
things, yeah, there are things that you will succeed in, and there are things that you will not be to that specific point. But all that matters is you keep on moving until you get to that specific point, and you get that one thing that you can then start focusing on and stuff like that, you know.
you fail forward, yeah.
Yeah, you know. So
But and the most important thing is to never give up, because um you only fail when you give up.
yeah,
As long as you don't give up, you will never fail, because when you give up, then you failed basically, because when you keep failing and then you don't give up, those are lessons, not
yeah,
failure,
yeah,
those are lessons because you didn't fail, but you just learned why, something will not work. For instance, we drive,
yeah,
that was not a failure. It was just a lesson for me that it will not work. And, in entrepreneurship, you only learn by doing, you know.
yeah.
So for me, I have a lot of failed projects. I at one point I also had another startup, that was basically selling shoes, were importing shoes from China, and
Mm,
then was selling them, but that also failed, and I learned that, why, that wouldn't be successful, you know.
mm,
So there's also a lot of other things that I did, that didn't work out, So um always moving forward and failing forward, I know what didn't work, and I know now what to do,
yeah,
and based on that experience, I've met a lot of people along the way, and based on those lessons, I know now what to do,
mm,
in what I'm doing, and how to conduct myself when I meet new people, and when I attend important meetings, with shareholders and directors and board members of certain companies,
okay,
so for me that was never failure. It's always learning,
yeah.
learning, learning, learning,
It's
learning,
a
learning.
lesson.
As long as I don't give up, then you will never fail. You
Mm,
only fail when you give up. That's the ultimate failure. So as as Elon Musk says it, never ever, never give up.
mm,
Never, because that's the true failure. That's the truth. I mean, Elon Musk himself, has had projects that did not work, you know, but um, those are not things that people talk about. People talk a lot about his
about
successes,
the wins. Yeah.
I also follow a lot. I also follow a lot of Strive Masiyiwa's content.
Okay.
Strive Masiyiwa is the richest man in Zimbabwe, billionaire.
Okay.
He owns Econet and Econet Wireless. You know, so it's a big telecommunications company. He also likes to, teach, on his Facebook content.
Mm,
And one of the things that he says is that emotional entrepreneurs don't make good entrepreneurs.
yeah.
You can't be emotional about your decisions as an entrepreneur, because it's going to cause pain to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So when you have to pull the plug, and keep it moving.
Okay.
Don't start crying, and be emotional about
Mm,
it, and talking about how you loved that business, and you have to keep it
yeah.
moving. You can't be emotional, because emotions in entrepreneurship will cost you money. It will
A lot
cost
of it.
your investors money. It will cost your customers money, and it will
Mm,
cost, a lot of other people money. So you can't be emotional. If something is not working, then stop investing in it and keep it moving. Do what
mm,
is working.
okay.
Strive Masiwa himself also pulled a lot of, plugs from different companies that he was running,
Okay.
companies that some were making money but were not necessarily profitable.
Mm,
That the average person would still continue running it even if
mm,
it was still not making any money at all. So but for him it was like, okay, this thing is not making money, it's actually bleeding money, and it's costing me my money, and it's also costing me my investors money.
investors
So
money.
let me basically pull the plug on this thing, and it was like, let's basically pull the plug and then let's do other things.
Mm,
So I think that's how we should be thinking as entrepreneurs. We should never be emotional, but we should always we should always keep it moving and keep it going,
uh,
pay forward, like Mrs. Nike would say.
yeah. And you
The
could.
first, have a lot of discipline, have a lot of self-discipline, you know, use money for its intended purpose, don't um, use the business funds inappropriately, and engage in social activities, with the money of the business. What I would also say, is that keep learning new things. You can never know enough. You know,
Mm,
keep wanting to better yourself and your business. Don't just stay in one place. Now we have things like ChatGPT. To help us streamline our business operations. So always keep learning and keep evolving. you know. And I think the last thing that I would say, is um, believe in yourself, have a firm belief in yourself. Don't mind what other people say about you and your vision, and your dreams. Only listen to um, what you have to say, about yourself and what your heart is telling you. If your heart is telling you that, you have a passion for agriculture,
yeah.
then go for it. Go and start an agricultural business, do what your heart is basically telling you. Don't succumb to, other people telling you that you can't do it, and other people telling you, to telling you that, your dreams will never work, and also just, you know, have a never giving up attitude. Don't stop. Just even if you keep changing, the route to where you are going, but
Okay.
never stop, never give up, and tell yourself that, you're throwing in the towel, this is not working out. Never, ever, ever, ever as an entrepreneur do that. No matter how painful or how difficult or how hard it gets, it's just never an option to give up. Just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And ultimately things will, work out for you, and things will work in your favor. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay. Yeah, man. Thank you very much for being part of this podcast, man. And thank you for sharing your story. Now, if the people want to get a hold of you, if people want to see the value that you will be giving out, where can they find you? And also, we will be leaving the links to your platforms. But could you please tell us where can they actually find you?
Okay, so on Facebook, it's Banele Moyi hyphen at Zolam Properties, right? And then also on TikTok, it's Banele Moyi, and then you put a hyphen, and then Zolam Properties. On Instagram, I've temporarily deactivated my account, and also on Twitter, I've also temporarily deactivated my account. Yeah, and then yeah, so And then if you want to contact me, regarding buying and selling houses on WhatsApp, then my number is 076-265-8118. Yeah, that's where you can contact me on WhatsApp.
Okay. Thank you very much, man, for everything that has been shared here on this podcast. And I hope um the people that are listening to this podcast, the audience, they not only enjoyed, they weren't only motivated, but even the challenges that they will get to in their own businesses even. Um they 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 take the advice that has been given on this podcast. They use the strategies that we have shared in this podcast, and they use them to not only better themselves but to better the people around them, you know. So thank you very much for being part of the podcast, man.
It's been an absolute pleasure, bro. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah.